Good morning, children. Today we are going to start Chapter 1 Three Questions by Leo Tolstoy. As the name suggests, this chapter is all about three questions that are being asked by a king and are being answered by a hermit. So, before moving to the chapter, we will do pre reading task. Suppose you want to start a new task. Will you wait for an auspicious time or will you start working immediately? Discuss with your partner giving reasons. You have two choices that if you want to start a new task, what you will do. You can discuss it at home. Then, what do you think is the most important occupation? Who do you think are the most important people? Compare your answers with the responses given by other students in your group and your choices are different from those of your friends. Discuss the reason for your choices. Obviously, you can discuss it at home with your parents, with your family members, and you will find out that all of the choices of everyone are different and you will end up having an argument with all. So, let's begin with the chapter. It once occurred to a certain king that if he always knew the right time to begin everything, if he knew who were the right people to listen to and whom to avoid, and above all, if he always knew what was the most important thing to do, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. You know, it is a story of a king. Once a thought came in his mind that if he knew that what is the right time to begin anything, if he knew who are the right people who can suggest him right things, and if he always knew what was the most important things to do, if he knew all these things, three things, he would never fail in anything. Whatever he will do, he is going to get success in that if he is able to get these three things. And this thought having occurred to him, he had it proclaimed throughout his kingdom that he would give a great reward to anyone who would tell him what was the right time for every action and who were the most necessary people and how he might know what was the most important thing to do. The paragraph I read, I will explain it, but this thing I am going to tell you that in this paragraph you will get the answer for a 2-mark question. Question can be what were those three questions. So these are the three questions. So he said and he made an announcement in his kingdom that if any of the person is going to answer correctly of these three questions, he is going to reward him. Huge reward will be given to that person. What were the questions? Questions were what was the right time for every action? Who were the most necessary people? Number 3, how he might knew what was the most important thing to do. And learned men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. Obviously, so many learned men, after hearing about the reward, they came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. In reply to the first question. So, what was the first question? First question was, what was the right time for every action? So many people answered that some said that in advance we can make a timetable we can make and we must follow that timetable in a proper manner, and some said everything should be done in a proper time. Others said it is very difficult to decide beforehand for the right time for every action. Then some said that king should not absorb himself in idle pastime. He must do needy things. And other people, they said that he must seek the help of wise men to fix the problems. But then again, others said there were some things which could not wait to be laid before a council. So many things are there that need action at that time only. We do not have time to discuss it with wise people and listen to their suggestions. So But in order to decide that, one must know beforehand what was going to happen. So, no one was able to answer the questions properly. The first question properly. They said only magicians know that what is going to happen in future. Because if we know what is going to happen in future, we can decide it beforehand. So we must consult magicians. Then, equally, various were the answer to the second question. Some said the people, the king, most needed were the councils. Other the priest, other the doctors, with some said the warriors. So everyone's suggestions were different. Some were saying doctors are the most important, priest most important, counselors, warriors. Next, to the third question as to what was the most important occupation, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Some suggested science was most important occupation. Some said skill in warfare. Others said religious worship. As all the answers were different, the king agreed with none of them and gave the reward to none. But still, wishing to find the right answers to his questions, he decided to consult a hermit widely renowned for his wisdom. It is given over here, the meaning you can see here, hermit. One who has renounced the word for religion, renounced the word, left the world, worldly pleasures. That person has left for religious practices, religion. So he was very wise. He was very wise. So king decided that I will go to that hermit and I will get my answers. Hermit. He lived in woods and he was living there a simple life, and he did not receive anyone, only common people. He talked to only common people. So king, what he did, he wore simple clothes and he left his bodyguards behind and went all alone. So you can see in the picture, king is there without any bodyguards in simple clothes like a common man, and you can see a hermit also. When the king approached, the hermit was digging earth in front of his hut. Seeing the king, he greeted him and went on digging. You can see in the picture, he was digging in earth. So when he saw king, he greeted him, but he continued his digging. The hermit was frail and weak. He was weak. He did not have much power with him. And each time he stuck his spade into the ground and turned a little earth, he breathed heavily. The king went up to him and said, I have come to you, wise hermit. So king went to him and he said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you answer 3 questions. So king is going to ask him 3 questions. The questions were again very important question for your examination point of view. What were the 3 questions? How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I most need? And whom should I therefore pay more attention to than to the rest? And what affairs are most important and need my first attention? I have explained it earlier, so I am not going to explain these 3 questions. The hermit listened to the king but answered nothing. He just spat on his hand and recommenced digging. So hermit listened. He listened but he did not answer. Again he started digging. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work a while for you. This is spade. You can see in the picture. This is the tool he is handling. That is spade. So, thanks, said the hermit. And giving the spade to the king, he sat down on the ground. He took rest. When he had dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose, stretched out his hand for the spade and said, Now rest a while and let me work a bit. Again, after doing some work, king stopped and asked his questions. Hermit again, he did not give any answer, but again he started working. He said to the king that you should take rest now. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed and another. The sun began to sink behind the trees, so it was a time of sunset. So much time has been passed like that only. And the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my question. If you can give me none, tell me, so I will return home. Now the king was feeling a little bit irritated that from the morning I am here and hermit is not going to answer, and even if he do not want to answer, he must tell me. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. Then at that time something happened. One person came running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. The king turned round and saw a bearded man come running out of the wood. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. These lines suggest that the person was wounded. He had a wound in his stomach. He was covering with his hands, but it was bleeding. When he reached the king, he felt fainting on the ground, moaning feebly.